Time now to focus in on developments and insight from the world of AI. For insight, I want to welcome in Steve Koenig, U.S. Head of Technology Research at Macquarie U.S. Equity Research. Steve, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, let's start out with a look at Salesforce. I know that's been on your radar. You've done some channel checks recently. What are your takeaways from your diligence, your due diligence over there?
Good morning, Diane. Thanks for having us. Yeah, so Salesforce is very focused on rolling out their Agentforce agentic AI technology. That's going to be their major project this year and probably next year as well. There's a lot of things they have to do to make the technology work at customers. It's a very effective technology for increasing productivity of your labor force, and these agents can operate autonomously. They've been shown to do that, internally inside Salesforce, for example, in their customer service function, in terms of having interactions directly with customers without a human being involved, as an example of one use case, probably the most popular one right now. So the technology is real, but to get it deployed among customers and to get the mass market adoption that Salesforce is looking for, there's a lot of hurdles. And one of them is trust among customers, that things like personally identifiable information is not going to be surfaced to the LLM, the major LLM companies. There are things like, budget and aligning executives at the large companies. And, lastly, there's technical issues like that these agents can surface blind spots in the data. For example, a customer might be inquiring about the order, but the agent doesn't have access to a legacy order management system that sits on premise or at a data center that the customer manages. So all these things are issues that have to be resolved when the agentic AI rolls out. But these companies are working on it and they're making progress, but it's going to be more like 2 years, not 2 quarters, before we see significant monetization.
Okay, so not a 6-month thing and not even a 12-month timeline from your view. It could take as much as 24 months?
I think so, to really start seeing monetization ramp. I think that's right.
And Steve, let me ask you about this. So I want to push back on one thing, the customer trust piece. I can see the technical challenges that may need to work out, but I feel like, people are so used to just sharing their information, and it kind of comes with the territory that all of our data is exposed to some degree. Why is that a concern for you?
Yeah. Okay, that's a great question. Well, consumers, may have become blasé about, having their information poached. Certainly, I think many of us have gotten notices from many companies that our data has been breached, right? But companies still have to be extremely vigilant. The data guardians, if you will, the people that have our data, they have to be vigilant to safeguard that data because of things like loss of brand reputation. But there's also more than just that issue. The trust issue is broader than that. And the trust issue is, it has to do with things like if your agents are autonomous and they're interacting directly with customers and you got a customer service conversation going on and the customer asks the agent, hey, what are my competitive alternatives to your product? You don't want the customer service agent to start telling the customer about the virtues of your competitor's products, And so there's things like that. When I talk about the trust issue, it's a pretty broad issue that these agents, particularly where they're acting autonomously, are acting in the best interest of the customer who's deploying them.
Okay. And then, Steve, let me ask you this. I know you have a hold rating on Salesforce. What would make you more constructive on this? Would it be a shorter timeline for Agentforce?
Sure, that would make me more constructive, but I think there's a lot of wood to chop. They've got to change their sales compensation model. They need to move to a universal rate card for consumption pricing. A lot of wood to chop, and that's going to take time. But I think with Salesforce, if we could see growth better, if we could see better growth and maybe, even some reacceleration, that would be good. The company's growing sub 10% now. And they've been adding less subscription revenue every year than the year before. So that's your new and expansion business has actually been shrinking. We would like to see that turn around. And I think there are products like their data cloud that could help. To make AI work, you need the enterprises that are deploying it need their data to be organized and high quality, and data cloud could help with that. So I think a little bit of reacceleration and growth, or simply adding more subscription revenue this year than last year, some upside on the revenue line would be the key catalyst in our view.
Okay, and then let me ask you. I want to switch gears, take a look at a HubSpot. You initiated coverage recently on HubSpot. Tell us how you're analyzing this one in particular as it relates to its AI strategies.
Yeah, HubSpot's AI strategy is it's not that different from many of the other application companies out there. Their roadmap includes. It's all about agentic AI. It includes agents that are co-pilots. These are agents that would help the human being who's working in the system. Summarize. For example, summarizing calls with customers, right? And they have also autonomous agents and things like the customer interaction, the chat bot, kind of the new and improved chat bot, use case that I gave you. So it's really not that different. I don't think what's going to differentiate HubSpot necessarily is AI so much. Increasingly, applications companies have to have AI as table stakes. But what's going to continue to differentiate them is simply their business strategy, their focus on a unified, simple product to use with all the CRM pillars: sales, service, marketing, commerce, particularly strong in marketing, a unified product that's easy for smaller and mid-sized companies to deploy. And I think we've seen good traction with that. I think that's continuing. They add more subscription revenue every year than the year before. That's been going on for 3 years. We think that growth vector is going to continue. And lastly, I would just say catalysts this year include kind of stabilization. We've seen some downgrade activity over the last couple of years, and I think there's less pressure on downgrades now. That's pretty clear. And they're making a pricing model change, which effectively is going to end up raising their prices a bit across the customer base. So I think all those things can contribute to significant revenue upside this year, which we would see as the most likely catalyst for outperformance. We have an outperform on HUBS and a $730 price target.
Thank you for saying that. I was just going to say that because I wanted to make sure that our audience knew that. For that outperform rating, do you think, really quickly, if you can give this thought to me in like 30 seconds, do you think that HubSpot outpaces Salesforce when it comes to agentic AI?
I don't think so. I think they're both very focused on it, and Salesforce has a much bigger customer base to try to drive this into, which presents an opportunity, but also a challenge. I think with HubSpot, it's the data sets that customers have are not probably as big as what Salesforce customers, at least their large enterprise customers have. So I wouldn't say that one is a lot more advantaged than the other. They're both very focused on driving agentic AI.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. That's Steve Koenig, U.S. Head of Technology Research at Macquarie U.S. Equity Research. Thanks a ton for your time, Steve.